So, welcome again to another episode of our lecture video series on differential amplifiers. So, for this episode, solve lang natin yung sample problem sa ating PowerPoint. So, determine the input common mode voltage range of the differential amplifier circuit shown. Assume that VCC is 10 volts and VCE-SAT is 0.2 volts. Okay, so recall lang natin yung natutunan natin last episode. So, during last episode, natutunan natin to make the quiescent current IC1 and IC2 the same, the biasing voltage in our input terminals should be also the same. So since the same ang DC voltage in the input terminal 1 and input terminal 2, kapag kinuha natin differential voltage between input 1 and input 2, ang ma-measure natin doon is actually 0. So nakita natin na wala yung biasing voltage na yan, di ba? Ibig sabihin pala, VBB is a common mode signal, or this is what we call the input common mode voltage. So, input common mode voltage is again used to bias the differential pair po. And meron po yung range para mag-operate ang ating differential pair ng tama. So, it has a minimum value and maximum value po. So, kung i-recall natin, VICM minimum is VBE plus the minimum emitter voltage. And VICM max naman is VCC minus ITEL times RL over 2 minus VCE-SAT plus VBE. Okay, so let's start solving. So, unahin natin yung minimum voltage, VICM min. So, ang kailangan natin doon is VBE and VE min. So, si VBE, it is the voltage between the base and emitter terminals ng isang transistor. And for the transistor to operate in the active region, VBE should be around 0.7. And ngayon, the question is, what is VE minimum? I mentioned in the previous episode that VE minimum is the minimum emitter voltage required for the current source to operate. So in this problem, may nakikita ba tayong current source? Wala po tayong current source dito. So ibig sabihin, our VE min is 0. So therefore, the minimum input common mode voltage is 0.7 volts. Yan, di ba? Easy. Okay, next naman is the maximum input common mode DC voltage. Okay, so para ma-compute natin yung VICM max, we need first VCC, ITEL, VCE-SAT, and VBE. So yung VCC, actually given po yun sa problem na 10 volts. VCE-SAT as well, given po yan sa problem. And VBE, alam natin kanina that VBE is around 0.7. So ang natitira na lang is, anong value ng ating ITEL? So kung meron tayong current source dito, imbes na resistor, actually, yun na po agad yung ITEL. Pero since resistor po yun nandito, we need to compute first what is ITEL. And paano natin kukomputin yan? So to compute ITEL, we need the voltage across the resistor R3 divided by R3. And if we recall, the voltage at this node with respect to ground is actually VE. Therefore, the voltage across R3 is equal to VE. And kung i-recall natin from the previous episode, VE is actually dependent on the input common mode voltage. Diba? Dahil VE is equal to VICM minus VBE. So ngayon, makakompute na natin si ITEL. So this is now our ITEL, which is VICM minus VBE over R3. So ngayon, we can now substitute this ITEL sa ating original equation. Pero what will be the value of VICM? So yung VICM dyan will be the same as VICM max. So if this is max, this should be also the maximum. So by substituting, ito pong lalabas. So this is now our new formula for VICM max. Pero papansin nyo may VICM max sa left side and sa right side ng equation. So, para hindi na tayo mahirapan mag-simplify pa, gawin na lang natin is i-substitute natin lahat ng values na pwede, then i-shift solve natin sa calculator. Diba? Mas madali. So, nung sinubstitute natin si VCC equals to 10, VBE is equal to 0.7, VCE-SAT is equal to 0.2, R3 is equal to 1.172K, and RL equal to 1K, VICM na lang po yung natira. So, pwede na natin gamitin ang calcu to solve VICM. So, ang lalabas pong VICM max will be 7.5694 volts. So, therefore, the input common mode voltage range is from 0.7 to 7.5694 volts. So, anong ibig sabihin yan? As long as we have a DC voltage dun sa ating input terminals na ang value is in between these values, ang mangyayari is our amplifier will operate correctly po. Or it is biased correctly. So, ayun lang po yan. So, actually, we can simulate this in LTSPICE. So, ayan po. So, na-set up na natin ang ating differential amplifier. And we have VICM, which is parehas para sa ating dalawang input terminals po natin. So, ang gagawin ko lang is isi-sweep ko po ang yung DC voltage or the DC biasing voltage na connected sa ating input terminals from 0 to 10 volts. And after nyan, gagawin natin is we will measure the voltage across the collector and emitter voltage, which is the voltage between this node and this node. So this is N002 and this is N006. So ito po yung lumabas. Okay, so i-analyze po natin yan. So if VCE, kung matatandaan yung ating load line, if VCE is equal to VCC, ibig sabihin siya ay cut off. During dito sa region na to, our transistors are in cut off. And if VCE is sobrang baba naman, it is in saturation. So, in this region, it is saturated. So, actually, yung saturation voltage ng transistor na sinimulate ko is less than 0.2. As we can see over here, mababa nga umaabot ng 0.02 volts ang kanyang saturation voltage. So, ang gagawin na natin, let's verify kung saan natatapos yung ating cutoff. So, nag-uumpisa yung cutoff dito sa VICM is equal to 0 volt. So, kailan natatapos yung cutoff? Natatapos yun kapag hindi na siya flat, di ba? Dito sa ating graph. So, hanapin natin kung saang voltage siya mag-uumpisang hindi maging flat. So, which is around dito, di ba? So, around here, after niyang voltage na yan, pababa ng ating VCE. So, hindi na siya in cutoff. So, makita natin that the input voltage natin or the input common mode voltage is around 0.641. Malapit sa 0.7 volts. So, tama po ang ating minimum. And again, what is the maximum? So, for maximum VICM, dapat our transistor's VCE is around 0.2. So, ngayon, sa vertical, hahanapin lang natin yung 0.2 volts. Ayan, almost 0.2 volts na. Tapos, ang kanyang value ng VICM is 7.6934 volts. So, ano ba na-compute natin? It is 7.5694. So, nakita natin, medyo malapit po siya. So, ibig sabihin, na-verify natin na tama ang ating input common mode range po. So, that's it for this episode. I hope natutunan nyo paano pagkuha ng input common mode range. So, for the next episode, pag-uusapan natin paano ba tinatanggal yung input common mode voltage na yan. So, I will see you in the next one. Bye!